Israel's forces say they are targeting Hamas militants at Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital as medical staff warn premature babies and patients are dying inside.
An Israeli national lobbying for the release of Hamas hostages reveals how he learned the fate of his own kidnapped relatives. Ukrainian troops establish a foothold on the eastern bank of the Dnipro River in a months-long counter-offensive against Russia.
Israeli forces have stormed Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital. After a lengthy standoff Wednesday night, the Israeli Defence Force said it carried out a, quote, precise and targeted operation against Hamas militants, despite the hospital being full of hundreds of displaced people, patients and medical staff. Hours earlier, Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said the White House has evidence that Hamas is using Al-Shifa as a command centre.
I can confirm for you that we have information that Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad use some hospitals in the Gaza Strip, including Al-Shifa, and tunnels underneath them to conceal and to support their military operations and to hold hostages.
During the day, the Hamas-run health ministry had called for a ceasefire to evacuate 36 premature babies who are battling for their lives without functioning incubators. After days of airstrikes around the hospital, its power has been cut and images of vulnerable babies raised international concern. The situation in Gaza's other hospitals is also dire, with the United Nations saying 22 of 36 are not functional due to lack of generator fuel, damage and combat. The 14 hospitals still open have barely enough supplies to sustain critical and life-saving surgeries.
هاي المناطق اللي بيقولوا عنها آمنة يعني دير البلح الآمن وين فيش منطقة في قطاع غزة آمن لا في سوق ولا في منتزه ولا في مدرسة ولا مستشفى كله مستهدف.
Hamas continues to deny Israel's claims that it is using hospitals, in particular Al-Shifa, to conceal or support their military operations and to hold hostages.
Last week, Gil Dickman, whose family members were kidnapped and murdered by Hamas, received a text message from a number saying it was the Qassam Brigades, Hamas's military wing.
The text is saying, "Family, this is a message from Al-Qassam." Al-Qassam is one of the units of Hamas. Carmel Gat, the name of my cousin, we offered your government a deal, release all the Zionist hostages for releasing all the Palestinians prisoners. And if you want to know the situation of all your hostages, just stay in touch with us and there's a link there.
He didn't click on the link for fear it would hack his phone. Gil's cousin Carmel Gat was kidnapped by Hamas on October 7th, along with the wife of his other cousin Yarden Roman. His aunt Kinneret was murdered. He learned of her fate by seeing a video of her alive under capture and then another of her body laying near the home she once loved.
I scrolled through videos on Telegram when I saw the video. She was handcuffed. They were walking her down the streets of the kibbutz. And in another video, I saw her face to the ground, murdered. Yeah. It also took a lot of time until the IDF came. We still don't know why. We don't know what happened. And we kind of lost faith in all the world. I still can't believe it now today.
Well, there have been many reports this week saying the hostage negotiations are reaching a critical momentum, although this has been formally denied by the Israeli government, who say as soon as there is news, the families of those captured will be the first to know, and then the world will know. But meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to continue the intensification of the Israeli offensive in Gaza, whereas we know thousands of people have been killed, thousands of children have been killed, and as former US President Barack Obama has said, life is unbearable. Shona Murray, Euronews, Tel Aviv.
As Ukrainian military forces defend part of the front line in the north, Kiev is claiming a significant breakthrough in a key southern battleground. A senior official says troops near Kherson have gained a foothold on the eastern bank of the Dnipro River. Russia says it's sending more soldiers to a village on the left bank to stop them. If the area is held, it would mean a significant advance for Ukraine. The news comes as Kherson celebrates the first anniversary of its hard-fought liberation from the Russian army. The area is still targeted by Russian air and artillery strikes. A foothold on the east bank would enable Ukraine to strike back at Russian positions. Kiev launched its counter-offensive in June in a bid to regain territory in the south and east of the country. It's so far failed to recapture significant areas.
Nearly 1 year after the arrest of Eva Kaili, the Greek MEP's lawyers are urging the European Parliament to act by recognising that her immunity was violated. The attorneys alleged that the former Parliament Vice President was illegally investigated by the Belgian police and secret services since she still, as an MEP, retained parliamentary immunity. But with a decision still pending on the matter after Kaili brought it to the Belgian courts, the lawyers are now threatening to take measures against the Parliament.
The European Parliament has the duty to act now. They don't have to postpone anymore. They have to act now. If they don't act, then we'll take consequences because we consider it's a fault. It's a personal fault for the persons who are in charge in the Parliament for not just agending a hearing. It's a personal fault. It's a violation of EU law.
Kaili was arrested last December and charged with corruption, money laundering and involvement in a criminal organisation after hundreds of thousands of euros were found in her apartment. She's alleged to have accepted cash from Qatar as well as from Morocco to influence the Parliament's decisions. Her lawyers now want to bring down the case due to what they describe as multiple investigative errors by the Belgian authorities.
We could speak hours about this. You can call this file anymore Qatar-gate. That's over. You have to call the file Belgian-gate. Secret services give a report and made a report that they give to the federal prosecutor in April last year. What's very important is that Eva Kaili, her name was not mentioned in that report. So there was no suspicion against her. There were a lot of other suspicions that are against other people, which in the beginning were not disturbed in this file.
Kaili's team accused the judge who was previously in charge of the investigation of trying to protect other MEPs. They also still strongly defend her innocence in the whole case. A decision on the Greek MEP's case brought against the Belgian authorities has been delayed, even as she still awaits trial.
Hundreds of people gathered in central Madrid in another day of protests against Spain's acting government. Pedro Sanchez's Spanish Socialist Workers' Party signed a controversial deal granting amnesty to Catalan separatists in a bid to secure support for another term in office. As Euronews correspondent Jamie Belafketh reports.
Sánchez cuenta con una holgada mayoría absoluta para su reelección, pero se sustenta en pactos con 7 partidos distintos, en especial los separatistas catalanes, que ya han anunciado que el mandato del futuro presidente del gobierno durará lo que dure su palabra.
Sanchez defended the amnesty as part of a debate which comes ahead of his request to form a new government. He says clemency would promote coexistence after the failed Catalan secession attempt of 2017.
La amnistía que planteamos es perfectamente legal. Es acorde con la Constitución.
Legal or not, tens of thousands of people continue to protest against the plan. The issue of amnesty was triggered by July's inconclusive election. The Conservative Popular Party finished first, but without enough votes to form a government. Sanchez has until November the 27th to secure the backing of a majority of politicians.
Estos manifestantes claman ya no solo contra la amnistía, sino contra la reelección de Pedro Sánchez, a cuyo gobierno consideran ilegítimo y al que acusan de dar un golpe de Estado. Son las peligrosas tesis de la extrema derecha que han calado en una parte importante de la población. En Madrid, Jaime Velázquez, Euronews.
In Budapest, an LGBTQ exhibition has been banned for those under the age of 18. The Hungarian government says this is because of its Child Protection Act, which bans sharing information with minors considered to be promoting homosexuality, such as artworks like this, titled Homosexuality in Brazil at the Museum of Ethnography. Reyes Morales, the photographer, said in a statement the subjects in her photographs serve as icons and role models to the LGBTQ+ community. But among the passers-by interviewed by Euronews, some disagreed.
Van egy férfi és van egy nő, és egymásnak vagyunk teremtve. Szóval nem az, hogy két nő együtt, illetve két férfi együtt, mert hogyha ilyen világban élünk, akkor a társadalomnak a pillére, az a család, az megszakad.
Others were outraged.
Szerintem a művészetet nem szabad lekorlátozni semmilyen szinten.
The decision by the Ethnographic Museum came shortly after the head of the National Museum was fired by the government because he publicly refused to ban minors from the World Press Photo Exhibition. The event, which draws 4 million people a year, aims at presenting outstanding photojournalism. Its mission is to bring visual coverage of a range of important events to a global audience.
A kordonozással kapcsolatban szerettük volna megkérdezni a múzeum vezetőségét is. A kérdéseinket elküldtük nekik, ők azonban az adásunkig nem reagáltak a megkeresésünkre. Magyar Ádám, Euronews, Budapest.